Welcome back, guys, and this is the second part of our MTN MOMO integration. And in the last one, we've covered quite a lot. We got to the level of being able to generate an API user. We created an API key, and we're also able to generate an access token, which we can actually use for this particular video. And what we want to do in this particular video is to go ahead and then a kind of a request to get paid by a client or a customer. And this is basically the page that you are going to need to be on right now. And we just basically want to go to this particular documentation that says request to pay, which I've actually shown in the last video that we worked on. And you just want to click on that. And once it opens up, you're going to see all of the things that you actually need to be able to make a request for a customer to actually pay you, which if you take a look at it here, we just basically need to go to this particular endpoint, and these are the header requests that we should be able to make. Okay, and as well as some of the body parameters are also down here if you take a look at this place. So we have amount, we have currency, external ID, payer, and quite a few of other things that we're actually going to need as we move along. Okay, so if we try to access that endpoint with the parameters needed and it succeed, we're going to get a 202 that's accepted. That means that the request for that payment has been accepted, and then the user should get a push notification on his phone to complete the payment or to authorize the payment. Then if let's say we made a bad request, we're going to get 400, and then if we got conflict, that's actually going to be 419. So that's just basically what that is going to be. So each time if we see 500, that's internal server error. So if we go 202, that means that such a request is actually correct. All right, so without wasting more time, all we want to do right now is if we go back to our development environment, I want to go ahead and create a new file. Maybe we should just call something like request payment. Let's call that request payment.php, and that's just basically the page we want to use. And of course, we're going to need something like an HTML on this page. So I want to also generate something like an HTML boilerplate on this particular page. So to do that, with Emmet, you can do exclamation and then hit tab. And it's going to go ahead and generate this for you. So all you need to do on this page is basically just enter some certain things that you need, like the title right here. What I'm going to do is just call this donation application or app, whatever you want to call that. So this can basically be the title of the project that you are just actually working on, and that is just that. So after that, before we move forward, I want to include a link to the CSS, because we're going to add a little lines of a CSS to this. So I'm going to just say link oil, and I'm going to just do style sheet right here, and this is going to be style sheet, and we can just do href, and then we're going to send that to style, which is a file we haven't created yet. So it's going to be a .css extension. So we haven't actually created this file right now, but we're going to create that. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. So if I copy that to the clipboard, I want to go ahead and paste that right here, and that's going to serve as the CSS file that we're going to use. However, let's work on this page further. And what we want to do on this page is that we're going to have to create a form on this page. To do that, I want to just create a div, which is just a container, and I'm going to give it a class, which I'm basically going to just go ahead and call that something like container. So let's do that right now. I'm going to call this container, and let's close that particular div that we have just opened. So I'm going to just do div, and then within this div right now, I want to create my form inside of it. So this is going to be form. I'm going to just say action, and if I want to process the form in here, we can actually go ahead and leave this empty, and we're going to just set the method to post, because we want everything to be secured. So I'm going to set that to post, and after that, we can close the form down here. And then within the form tags, we want to do a couple of things in here. First of all, I want to bring in the phone label. So let's just say label right here, and we can go ahead and just say, basically this is going to be a phone field. So let's just do phone number right there, and we can go ahead and then close the label. And we're going to need an input. So we're going to just say input, and we're going to have a type, and let's set the type to something like tel, since this is going to be a phone number. And after that, we're going to need something like a name, and let's set the name to something like customer, since that's actually going to uniquely tell us whom the customer is. Okay, so we're going to just say customer right there, and we can have a placeholder if we want to. So we can just say folder, and then we'll set that to be equal to enter your phone number, and that is just that. Okay, so we can use HTML5 required attributes to force people to always put something in this particular field, and that is that, guys. So the next thing I want to do, I want to copy this right now and then paste it on the next line, and I want to change that or modify that to a kind of a capture the amount. So this is going to be amount, And for the amount, we're going to change the type to something like number, and let's make sure type number correctly. So this is number. And then for the name, we can change this to something like amount. So this is going to be amount. And the placeholder right there, we can just basically enter donation amounts right here, enter donation amount. And finally, we need to create our submit button, which we're going to just go ahead and do that down here. So this is going to be input type, or this is going to be input type. Let's set that to be equal to submit. And we can let's type that correctly. We can give this a name, and the name actually it can be anything you want, but I'm gonna just call this pay, and I'm gonna just say value, which is the text that people are gonna actually see. I'm gonna just say donate, and from the demonstration we basically have that just as it is right now. Okay, so this is what you have now, and the next thing I want to do, I want to save this page right now, and I want to sort to that page. So to do that, I want to change from access, and I'm going to just say request to pay or request payment. And this is basically how the page is actually looking like right now. However, what I want to do, I want to add a couple lines of a styling to this to just make it look a little bit beautiful. Okay, and to do it, we just basically need to start that off with that of the body. So I'm going to just do body, and I'm just this is gonna be the first thing I want to do is about the font family. I'm gonna just basically say to Arial, and this is gonna be Arial sans serif. I'm gonna use Arial, and I'm gonna just say comma, and I'm gonna just say sans dash serif, like that. And the next thing I want to do is to bring in the background. So this is gonna be background dash color, and I want to go ahead and set that to black. So that's black, and let's zero out the padding and margin. So this is going to be padding. I want to set that to 0 pixels, and as for the margin, this is actually going to be set to 0 pixels. Okay, and that is that for that of the body. So let's move on to the container. So I'm going to just do container or dot container, which is a class. We've actually created that. I know that you guys already know how to do that. So we're going to just say dot container. And what we want to do with the dot container right here, basically I'm going to set a max width of that particular container. So this is going to be max width. And what I want to set that to is going to be just basically 400 pixels. So this is going to be 400 pixels, and I want to set the margin for that particular container right now to, this is going to be, let's say this is going to be 50 pixel top and bottom, and we're going to set the left and right to auto, like that. And after that, we need to give that a background. So to do that, I will just say background color, which is something we've actually done before now. So it's going to be background color, and I want to set that to basically white. So I'm going to just do, so if we do F3 like this, is going to make that white background. And I want to set the padding or that particular container to something like 20 pixels. So this is going to be 20 pixels, and then after that we want to set the border radius. So this is going to be border dash radius, and I want to go ahead and set that something like 8 pixels. So this is going to be 8 pixels. And finally I want to set the box shadow, which is basically going to be box dash shadow, like that. And I want to set the first value to 0, second one 0, and the next one is going to be 10 pixels. And I want to add something like an RGBA, which kind of talks about the color that we want. And the first one is going to actually be 0, 0, 0, and comma. The next one is actually the A value right here, which is actually going to be the opacity. So what I want to do is basically set that to 0.1. So that's the depth of that particular opacity, and that is just that, guys. So what I want to do is I want to set a couple of styles for, let's say, that of the input fields, and this is basically talking about that of the form that we have in here. And then to do that is really very simple. So if we reference to something like input like this, and we're going to use square bracket, that's the syntax, and then we can just say type, and we can tell it the type that we want this type to actually apply to. So the first one is going to be the tail, and after that we have some of that type that we have in there, like what is it called, the number, and that of the submit. So what I want to do, I want to copy this. I have a command there, and I'm going to change this one to, this is going to be something like number. So let's change that to number, and I want to paste that again, and I'm going to take away that separator, that's comma that was in there, and I'm going to just say submit, like that. And the style that I'm going to write right now is going to apply to all of these input types that we have in here. So the first thing is I want to set the width to 100%. It will take all the space available to it. Then the padding is actually going to be set to 10 pixels. And then after that, I'm going to set the margin. So this is going to be margin, and I want to set that to basically this is going to be 8 pixels top and bottom, and then 0 pixels left and right. Okay, that is that. And after that, I want to set the display property. I want to change that to, I want it to like basically display inline block. So we're going to just say inline dash block, and after that we want to set the border page. What I'm going to do with the border is that I'm going to just make it 1 pixel solid, and I want to change the color to something of this nature. So this is going to be CCC like that. And after that we need to give this a box sizing. So this is going to be box sizing. Sorry about this. This is going to be border box like that. And I think that that's just basically what that is right now. However, if we save this page now and then refresh, you see how this is actually looking. It's a kind of a coming together just like the original. However, I want to add some more things to this, such as working on this particular submit button that we have in here. And if I want to do that, I want the style to only apply to it. And if that is actually true, that I want to do that, all I want to do, I'm going to copy this submit code that we have in here, paste that here, and I'm going to throw in my curly brackets. And what that means is that whatever styling that I give to this now is going to apply to only the submit. So I want to change the background, and let's say that the background, I want to do background color. And what I want to do is that I want to set the background color to the following color. This is going to be 4 like that. So this is the type of a green color that I want to use as the background in there. You can actually set your own to anything that you want. All right. So after that, I need the text that is in there to change to a white color. So to do that, I'm going to just say color, and I want to change that to white. So this is going to be FFF like that. And then after that, I don't want a border around it. So for that reason, I'm going to just say border none, and that will take away the border. And finally on that, I'm going to just say cursor, and I want to change the cursor to something like pointer. So let's just do pointer. That way, if you bring your mouse button too close to it, changes to something that looks like a human hand kind of icon, trying to touch something or trying to tap on something. So after that, I want to set a hover effect for it. And to do that, let's just go ahead and paste that down here. And I'm going to just do colon and then do hover. And what I'm going to do with that is just to change the background right here. So let's copy this and paste that right here. And I want to change, let's change this color to, let's call this 49, which is a different variant of a green. So I want to save this and then take a look at that from my browser. I want to refresh. This is how it looks looking. And if I bring my mouse button, you see that that's actually not changing the way that I feel like it should be changing, but that's just fine. That's just fine. However, if you want to, let's say we'll change this something to navy, I'm going to change it back to this anyway, but let me just call this navy so that you see how that basically works. Okay, so if you bring your mouse button, it changes to navy. But I want to change it back to this particular variant of a green color. And that is that, guys. So if we let me take a look in here, and I want to add something like H2 right here. So this is going to be H2, and what I basically want to say is just do something like donate now, and let's close out that H2 right here. And I want to give a couple styling to that within this page. So to do that, we can do that right here by saying H2. And what I want to basically give to the H2 as a style is just quite simple. Okay, I want to just say text align, and I'm going to just want to center that to the web page. Okay, that's just basically what I want to do on that particular place. We could add a couple styling to this at a later time, but for now, let's move on to this particular page. And what I want to do on this page right now is to start processing the whatever that the person is actually doing on this particular page. And to do that is actually going to be simple, guys. So at first we have to look for a way to gather the two fields that we have in here. If someone presses this donate button, we want to listen for that kind of action and then gather whatever the person has typed into the two fields. Remember, we're forcing them to be able to make sure that they type something into these two fields, you know. So I want to just do PHP right here. I want to close out the PHP tag. And the first thing I want to do, I'm going to just do if. So I'm going to just say if is set. And what I want to do is to use post super global variable here. I'm going to just do dollar post, and I'm going to just do this, and the name is actually called a p, which if you take a look in here, it's actually there. And what I want to do, if I do that, I want to just, let me first of all do echo, let's just say success, and terminate this line. And I basically want to just press that button right here. So if I get success, and let's make sure we fill in something in here, and I press this, and if you highlight, you see that we get success up here, guys. You see that? So this is success. So we're grabbing everything that is actually coming from that place. And to take that further, see what we're going to do right now. I want to comment this out. Sorry about that. What I want to do, let me create a variable that I'm going to actually call the amount. So this is going to be amount. And I want to use something like HTML, special, Charles. I want to wrap that around this particular super global variable, which is actually called a $_post. And what I want to do is first of all grab the amount. So the name of that particular field is actually called amount. So I grab that and put that into a variable called amount. The next one I want to grab is actually the phone number. So let's paste that right here and then change this to phone. Let's call that or customer. We'll call that customer, guys. Change this to customer, and that's just basically the two fields in that particular place. So the next thing I want to do is really very simple. It's going to be the payload. So to create the payload, I'm going to just do payload as a variable right here. I'm going to set that as an array. So this is going to be array, and then within this particular array, we're going to need a couple of things in here. But first of all, let me terminate this particular line, and then within this particular payload right now, of course, if you take a look at the documentation page, just like I showed you before, now we are going to need amount, and we're going to need currency, we're going to need external ID, and we're going to need payer, and quite a few of other things, So let's set that up right now within this payload. And the way that that is done, I'm going to this is an array. So let's go ahead and just first of all create the indexes right here. So I'll just do amount, and I want to use arrow to set that to the amount variable. We already have that on this page, so this is going to be amount. We're capturing the amount right now. The next thing is the currency. So let's do currency like that, and we're going to just do set that to equal to, of course, we're in test environment. We're going to just set this to EUR like that, which is euro. Okay, and let's take away this terminating character right here. It should be a comma because it's an array. Then the next one is also going to have a comma because we are still creating more arrays. After that, we need external ID. What's the external ID? Yeah, right here. So I'm going to copy this, go back in there, and then paste that right there. I'm going to use arrow again, and then we can go ahead and then we're going to set that to basically each time we'll make a payment. If you take a look at the documentation on this, if you take a look at the description right here, because we have descriptions for this. So if you take a look at this description, I want to scroll a little bit to the right, and if you take a look at the description, it says external ID is used as a reference to the transaction. External ID is used for reconciliation. The external ID will be included in transaction history report. External ID is not required to be unique, and they said it's not actually required to be unique, but I'm going to just make that unique because of some point that they mentioned here for reconciliation and whatever they say that in that place. So I want to make it very simple. I want to use PHP unique ID right here. So this is going to be unique ID, and let's make that just like this. Okay, that is just what we need to do on that particular place. It's going to work for us. So I'm still adding this semicolon, so it should be comma for now. All right, so the next thing that we need is going to be the payer, which is also right here. So we have payer, and then within this payer, if you take a look at the description, you see that if you just take your time to read this and then try to understand what they're saying right there. Okay, so however, I'm going to just interpret it my own way, and then I kind of designate that for you within the coding environment. So let's do that right now. And to do it, I'm going to just do payer, and this payer is actually going to come in form of an array. So I'm going to just do arrow like that, and we can go ahead and just say array is going to contain some other values. Okay, so let's go ahead and then first of all, I want to introduce a comma right here because I'm seeing this as a new line of an array, and let's separate these two right now. And I'm going to need two things. The first one is going to be the party ID type, which is also in that particular documentation. So let's just do party ID, and we're going to just say type, and we can go ahead, use arrow right here, and we can set that to, let's go ahead and then set that to the following values. This is going to be MSISDN. Okay, so this is MSISDN. That's the value. I'm setting that right now, and if you take a look at documentation very well, I'm still going to see it in there. But then the next one is actually going to be the party ID itself. Okay, so this is going to be party ID, and this party ID is basically going to be the customer itself. So in our own case, it's just the phone number. What I'm going to do is to bring in the variable that contains the phone number, which we kind of designated that to be something like customer, and that's the last item on this particular array called a payer. So the next thing we want to do is to bring in the payer message, and to do that, I'm going to just do payer message, and we can go ahead and use our array again, and we can say whatever I want to say within this particular place. So I can just say I am happy, a comma right there, and then the last thing we need on that particular line is actually going to be the pay and the payee note. So this is going to be payee note, and we basically need to just say whatever I want to say. Okay, so this is going to be a message from the owner of the website. So this is going to be thanks for maybe something. As you're watching my video, I'm going to just say thanks for watching, and that is just that on that particular line, guys. So the next thing we want to do is that down here we're going to try to go ahead and then do the integration. So let's say integrate Momo request API down here. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to go ahead and then get the code for the integration of this Momo request to pay API, and I want to copy the page that we had earlier, which is right here. So we want to go to access underscore token, and then I want to copy the coil connection code right here. So right there, get that copied, and then when you get back in here, you want to go ahead and paste that right here. Okay, so if you scroll down, you are going to see that this is basically what you have. So the next thing we need is to switch up some certain things right here, like taking away the URL. I'm going to take this away, and then make sure that that really represents the new URL that we want to use, which is right here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, go back to the development environment, and I want to stick that right here. Okay, so that's the URL, and then after that we are basically going to need to pass in the variable called payload right here. So let's copy the variable from here and then paste it right here, and I think we do not actually need this quotes around it. I believe someone will take that away, and that should be that. Then if we scroll down here where we are working on the headers, okay, right here we need to modify quite a few things from here, and to do that is really very simple. To work on the authorization, we're not going to use basic with this. What we need to do is to use something like bearer. So this is going to be bearer, and then we're not going to need to encode the result right here. So I want to take away this particular thing away from there, that particular function, and if I take that away, all I need to do right now is to bring in the access token right here. Okay, so basically I need to bring in the access token, and if we want to do that, we need to have connected to the access token page, which is right here. So to do that, I want to scroll to the top of this page, and I'm going to do an include right here. So that's going to be include. Maybe we should use something like include once, which is a function that I'm quite sure you're already familiar with, because we've used that before, and I want to link to this particular page. So what I need to do is just say access, let's put that in quotes. This is going to be access underscore token dot php, and that is that. We need this variable right here that we are using to kind of a grab onto the access token. So I'm going to copy this, and then if we go back to the page we are just working on right now, and then we scroll to the section where we basically need that, and that's actually going to be here. So all we need right here is just concatenate onto that access token. So I'm going to add a dot and then paste that variable right there, and with that line it means we've brought in our access token. So the next thing we need to do is to bring in the subscription key, because if you take a look at the what is actually required right here, you're going to see that we have a place where they talked about something like OCP. Well, I'm trying to like find out that of the subscription key, the term that we basically need to use right here, but I can't really find that out. Maybe it's not actually from this page that I saw that before now, but then it's actually required. What I'm going to do right now is to just basically, we already know that we have the subscription key right here, and what actually represents that is this particular key that we have in here, okay, and then the value is actually going to be the secondary key. So if you check the configuration right here, you're going to see that there's a place where we have secondary key right here, and that's basically the subscription key. Okay, all right, so we're basically going to just call that a secondary key, but the term that some people might call that is that of the subscription key. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we need to just leave it as secondary key right here. Then we need to move on to the next field which we need, and that's actually going to come as the x dash target environment, which we basically need to just set that to sandbox. So I want to check the documentation page and then see if we basically have that, and that is really here. Okay, so I want to just copy this right here, and then if I go back to the development environment, I want to go ahead and then stick that maybe right here. Okay, so this is going to be in quotes. I want to take, let's just complete that. This is going to be X target environment. And all we need to do is to just go ahead and set that to be, I'm going to just enter colon right here, and we can go ahead and then set that to something like sandbox. So this is going to be sandbox, and that's just what we need right there. And then the next thing that we need right now is going to be the X reference ID, which, let me introduce a comma right here, and then if we go back to the browser, and that's just basically this particular one. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Sorry about this, you need to go back there again, which is right here. So I'm going to just copy X reference ID, and if you take a look at this table right here, all of these things that I'm actually adding right here, they are marked as required. Okay, and they are basically strings, so that is why I'm basically trying to add all of those things. Okay, so I want to copy that, and if I go back, let's go ahead and then add that right here, and that's the X reference ID. And all you need to do is to just add colon right here. So I'm going to just add colon, and then we need to specify the value, which in this case is basically going to be something like a UUID, because if you take a look at the description of that right here, so if I scroll maybe to the right here, I'm going to see that the format is actually UUID resources ID, which is actually most of the time it has to be unique for every payment that you make. Okay, and what I want to do, instead of just generating that from online, since we are using this particular page for payment, we need to go to our configuration and then see how is it that we can generate that type of a random number, that's a UUID, which is actually in base for as of this moment. So to do that is very simple. We need to go to this environment, and all I want to do right now, I have that already created and I have it in my clipboard, so I just want to paste that right here, and I think I kind of took that away. So look at it right here. Okay, we're basically going to create a function called a generate UUID, and then this is the format that we're actually going to take to be able to create the UUID. And if we get that, and then we're calling the function down here. So all I need in that particular page is to just copy this particular variable right here, and I want to save this page. Then if I get in here, I want to go ahead and then concatenate onto that particular variable that I just brought in right now. So I'm going to just do a dot, and then I'm going to paste that particular variable right there. So with that line, it means that we have really generated that of the UUID, which is in base 4. Okay, and that's actually the latest that is actually required for us to use. So after that, we have our content type set to application JSON right here, which is basically fine. Okay, and that is just that, guys, on how to really set up this particular section of the application. And I'm really glad that you guys kind of understand what I just did in there. Okay, so the rest of the things that we have in here, we can do some few sorts of modifications in here if we want to. So to do that, all we need to do right now is to just change quite a few things here. So right here, where we are basically working on grabbing onto the access token, remember I just copied this code from the access tokens page, so we're not going to need this. We need to basically get rid of this, and also even get rid of this particular response right here, because we're not going to actually need it. All we need is just this request line that we're having here, which we are basically using to execute the call, and that is just that. So the next thing we need to do is we are kind of checking the what we have in here. If we ever had any errors, we want to capture that particular error and then try to display it on the screen for the users. Okay, and if we do not have any errors, we want to also capture what is in the response code. Okay, so that is basically what we're doing down here, and I know that I kind of commented this out before now, so I want to comment these few lines that we have in here, which basically means that if you have a status code of 200, that means we have success in the execution of the code. But if we do not, then we're going to basically print out this here. But remember that for you to be able to grab success within this page, the error code, or the code that actually simplifies or actually designate the fact that you have success is actually 202. This is the response code, so it's not going to actually be 200. So we need to change this code right here. Instead of 200, you need to change that to 202. And if that happens, we're going to say that API call was actually successful and the code is basically 202 right here. Then if we have any errors, we're going to say the API call failed, okay? And then the code is, and we're going to show off the code on the screen. So that is just that, guys. So what I want to do is to, first of all, I'm going to save this page or save the changes, and I want us to go and test this to see what is actually going to give to us. So let's refresh this page first of all. And then once it is actually done refreshing, I want to go out and then fill the form out. So I'm going to fill it with the following details. So let me just do it this way, and then let's say that we're going to actually charge something like 200 euros, and I want to click on donate, and I want to just highlight this page. And then if you take a look at it here, you'll notice that we have API call successful and the code is actually 202. Okay, so that means that it really works. So if this was in production environment, by now we should have like a push notification on our phone, and then the user or the person who owns an account with MTN MOMO would get that prompt, and he has to authorize that particular payment to really go through. Okay, so if we had any errors, let's say what I'm going to do right now is if I go to maybe right here, I want to change, let's go ahead and change this to NGN, and then save that. And if we refresh this page and I want to try this payment again, let's go with the same phone number, and I want to go with 200 again. So let's just go right there and then click on donate. Okay, that goes through. And then if we refresh this page, we're going to see that the API call failed, and then the code is actually 500. And the reason for that is because that payment did not actually go through. So even if we're on a live environment, that is not actually going to go through. And the reason for that is because we entered one of the field that we entered here is actually incorrect. So in the test environment, all we use is euro, okay, but we are trying to use NGN right here, which is actually naira. Okay, so if you switch to live mode and then you have this to be naira, it's actually gonna work. Okay, but now that we are not actually switched to live mode, we have to keep on using EUR like this. Okay, so this is basically the environment that we are in right now. We have to keep on using euro. So if you have any errors within this particular page, or you made any mistakes, it's gonna like print out what that particular error code is for you. But if you ever get like 202, it means that everything works just fine, and then the payment can actually proceed, guys. So that is just what that is. So I'm gonna try again, and we should be able to get 202, which is accepted right there. Okay, so that payment has been accepted. Now what we want to do right now, we are on a test environment, and MTN does not actually have a way of actually showing us what is really happening. We cannot actually test this by seeing what it is on our phone right now, so that I can actually display that on the screen for you guys. But what I did was to create something like a page for that. It kind of mimics the push notification. Okay, and to do that, it's actually going to be very simple. All we need to do right now is to create a new page. So I'm going to create a page and then call that something like push .php, and I want to just basically copy the request to pay page, copy everything in there, and then paste it in here. And if I have that on that page, all I need to do right now is just go ahead and then take away the PHP part of it. We basically are not going to need that part. So let me just highlight from here and then take that away. Okay, so we have that in there, and after that we need to take away this particular form that we'll have on this page, and all we need is we just basically need the container, and we need to just change the information that is remaining here. So let's just say something like check your phone. We can put that in there, check your phone, and then let's put a paragraph right here, which is going to be a p tag, and you can just say there is a push notification sent to your, and the message in here can actually be anything that you want. Okay, I'm just trying to do whatever that comes actually into my own mind. Okay, and also based on what I actually presented to you guys before. So I'm gonna put something like a link right here, and what I want to do is just go ahead and then let's say that this is gonna go to a page that is actually gonna be called success.php, which we haven't actually created, but we're still gonna create that. I want to give this a class and then set that to something like success. So this is gonna be success, and we can actually go ahead and then maybe we can say just something like you I have completed. Okay, and let's go ahead and then close that right there. And after that, I want to copy this particular line right now and then paste it on the next line. And what I want to do is to change, I want to change this URL right here. This is going to go to fail.php, and then the class, I'm going to change that to something like error. Let's change that to fail instead of error. Okay, you can basically call that anything, and then we can just basically change the information right here. Let's just say cancel this payment. Okay, so this is just basically what it is right now. However, let me just give I want to style this a little bit, and to do that is actually going to be very simple. So let's do that maybe down here. Okay, so based on the success, I'm gonna just do dot success, which is actually a class, and we can go ahead and write some styles for this. Okay, and I'm just basically gonna change this to something like this is going to be green, which is the color of the text that is actually going to show on the screen. And let's terminate that line. And after that, we need to change the font size. So this is going to be font size. And I basically want to change that to something like 27 pixels, and that is just that. Then for the error or the failed part, I'm going to copy this, paste that down here, and I want to change this to fail, and the color right here is actually going to be red, so I'm going to just change this to red, and then the font size can actually stay the same. So I want to save this. However, if I go to the request to pay page and I scroll a little bit down to right here, remember that we are basically kind of printing out the code right here. So but what we basically want to do on that pages, if we got something like 202, just like we have been getting, if we get 202, the next thing that we want to do is to redirect them to the success page. So for that reasoning, I'm going to just comment this line out, and then down here I just want to use PHP header redirect. So this is going to be like that, and you can put location right here, and where do you want to relocate them to? Want to take them to success.php, and then we can actually add something like exit down here, so that we will not get header already sent kind of a notification. So after that, if we got any errors, we know that this part is actually printing. So let's comment that out and then paste that down here. And then I want to change this from what it is right now to a page called fail or failed. I don't know. I think we'll call that fail, like that. And what I want to do right now is let's go ahead and create the success page. Okay. All right. So what I want to do, if you take a look at it here right now, at first I want to change this title right here. Let's call this push notification or whatever you just basically want to call that page. However, I want to copy this page right now, and if I copy it, I want to save the changes and then create the success page right now. So this is going to be success, which is the page we just a kind of a redirected people to just now. So this is going to be success.php. Open that up, and I want to paste that within this particular place, and let's just call this success. And then what we basically need on this success is we're going to just need quite a few lines. So I'm going to take this away, and let's change this to something like thank you. And after that, we are going to need the paragraph to be changed to something else. So let's say that your donation, your support rather. So I'm going to just change this to support. Okay, so let's just hit on that line. I want to copy this page immediately and then use that as a boilerplate for that of the error. So let's also create the fail page right here. So I'm going to just say fail.php. Open that up and paste this. And then we're going to just basically change the information that is actually here. So we can just say something like oops. So I'm going to just say oops, and I want to like say something within this paragraph right here. And we're going to just say like something went wrong and with your donation, and then we can say something like please try again later, just like that. And we can save these changes. We want to test this out right now. So what I'm going to do is to refresh this page again and then fill out this form with the information we already had. and we can just say something like, let's say 300, and I'm going to click on donate. And if you take a look at that, you see that the redirect works just fine. It went to success.php because we had 202 in the status code. Okay, that's why it took us to this particular page. And I think that we did not actually include the class to this. That's why it's not showing in green. So right here, let's just say something like maybe we should add an extra class right here by calling this success. So let this be success. And we should also do the same thing for the failed page. So we should just change this to something like fail, which is the class we already created within our CSS right here. Okay, so let me refresh this page, and it's not showing. Maybe I should just kind of hard refresh the page. So you see that it changes to green, and that's just basically what it is. So even the former one looks just like that. And I want to try this again, guys. What I want to do with trying this again, at first I want to just go to the request to pay, and if I go to the PHP section and I want to change this again, maybe I want to change this to something like change it back to something like NGN. You can change it to something like Ghana cedis or whatever you want to do. Okay, wherever you're living within Africa, this code should basically work for you. And I want to save these changes. Then if I try that again, I believe this should go to the error page. So let's say 700 euros, and I want to click on donate. And then you see that it goes to the error page because the currency isn't actually correct. Okay, so that's just what that is on this part. And then I believe that you guys kind of get the gist behind the coding that I just did right here. Okay, this should work for basically anybody within Africa or any place where MTN MOMO is actually operating right now. That is that. And I think that we're leaving the push notification out. And I think that basically what I needed to do was, or what I did earlier was, if we go back in here, right here where we are doing the redirects, I think what I did earlier was to go to the push notification right here. So I should be able to put like push right here and save that. And then this one should be basically correct. Okay, so that's just the line you need to change right now. We can basically move from this push notification to that of the success page, which is right here. Okay, so if everything works just fine, it goes to the push notification, and let me show you the push notification page. If we get right here, I want to change this to push, and this is basically where it should redirect you to, and this is like notifying you that um, you have been prompted to make payment. Once you are done doing the payment, you can click on completed right here, and it's going to take you to the thank you page. Otherwise, you can click on cancel right here, and it takes you to the cancel the page just like that. So this is just basically how that should look, guys. And I hope that you guys can kind of understand everything that I did on this video, and I think I will see you in the next one. So thanks for watching.